Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. From now on, we get all our news from the Indonesian ratings board. A rib can shield you from evil, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society can shield you from evil with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I'm joined, as I'm always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, and then on Thursday, we're celebrating Labo. That's right. We're celebrating Nintendo Labo's 8-year anniversary with a discussion of our favorite odd uses of Nintendo hardware. But in the meantime, Mark, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. So excited to talk about Labo.
We're timely, if nothing else.
Yeah.
We're using Labo as a springboard to talk about other things. Mark, speaking of other things,
Yes.
A little TV like check-in.
Yeah.
So it's of course Maul Shadow Lord, the new Star Wars animated show, is out there. I'm finding it to be quite good. At first I was like, the episodes will come out. They come out on Monday, and I'll catch them sometime during the week. Now, today, at the third week, I'm like, no, got to catch them on Monday. It's like appointment TV for me. I'm very excited about it. It's good. It's there's a Jedi Master named Echo DP Daki.
Oh, that's good.
Who's like a little lizard guy. He's fantastic. Did you watch the Ahsoka show?
No.
So there is a sort of character on that called Maruk, who appears to be like an inquisitor, right? One of these red lightsaber guys. But when he's defeated in battle in Ahsoka, he disappears in a puff of smoke as though he's like an illusion or something. And that character, who'd never been seen anywhere before on Ahsoka, is now also on this show as, I think, a flesh and blood person.
Oh, interesting.
So there's just cool stuff happening on this Ahsoka show.
And how does the timeline relate?
Yes.
Ahsoka is
post Return of the Jedi. And this is post Revenge of the Sith.
Ahsoka is after Return of the Jedi, and this is after. Oh, okay.
This is before the original trilogy.
Got it.
This is during the Imperial era.
Yes, I see.
Which is also like sandwiched in between Maul appearances, because Maul also appears in Rebels, which would be right before the original trilogy. Anyway, my point is it's quite good, and I'm enjoying it a lot. On the flip side of that, I also started watching this new season of Daredevil Born Again. And can I tell you my joke?
Yeah, please.
Okay. My joke is that they should change the name of the character from Daredevil to Armbreaker, because that's all he does is break people's arms. You know that like sort of backwards that like you grab the arm and then like hit it from the bottom and it just like breaks and there's like bone sticking out. I think he does it 10 times in the 3 episodes I've seen. It's too much.
Because it's gritty.
Here's the thing. It's so gritty. At what point are we just like, maybe that's evil to be breaking arms like that?
Right. Yeah. And also maybe Daredevil just doesn't need to continue. We don't need to keep making more Daredevil TV show.
It seems like, there were 3 seasons of it on Netflix, and now here's a second season on Disney Plus.
I mean, to be fair, I think I watched.
When's the last time you checked in with Daredevil?
Yeah, it's been
the devil of Hell's Kitchen, Mark.
I stopped watching
The Man Without Fear.
I stopped watching during the second Netflix season. I just didn't care.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I started watching it on Sunday. And I had mentioned to Sarah, like, I don't think you're going to care about this, but I'd like to watch this Daredevil show. And she was like, you can put it on, whatever. And like 10 minutes in, she was like, all right, I'm going to go in the other room and like do something else. And then later, like, checked in with me and was like, did it get any better? And I was like, no. I'm finding it to be miserable. But if you would like to hear us talk about things that don't make us miserable, you can head on over to patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if you are supporting us at the 8 or 16-bit levels, you get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries like NCS at the Movies.
Yes, where Patrick, myself, and usually a special guest are going to the movies together and then talking about that movie. For April's episode, we're going to be talking about The Devil Wears Prada, which comes out at the very beginning of May. Devil Wears Prada, 2.
There we go. A
So,
helpful correction.
yeah, excited to talk about that. And yeah, we have content on the Patreon at all levels, including free. There is content available to you from past miniseries like NCS Detective Club, where we talked about the great detective TV shows of history. Some of them, anyways. Let's
Well, hey,
NCS
we talked
goes
about.
Broadway.
Sorry, what's the name of that Dick Van Dyke Doctor show?
Oh, Diagnosis Murder.
Diagnosis Murder. Yes.
Yeah, and we didn't even scratch the surface of how cuckoo bananas that show
no, but
becomes.
we did watch an episode where Delta Burke was a nun.
Yeah, no, I mean it's good. And then NCS goes Broadway and 3 seasons of NCS Arcade. So lots of good stuff up there. Check it out.
And also, you could get in our Discord. Email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. If you would like to chat with people who are also playing Nintendo and probably listening to this show, I assume those people are still listening to the show. Yes, get in there, have a good time. Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week. Mark, I feel like you've got a little bit of an exciting lineup of games that I'm very interested in talking about. So I just want to say that I picked up Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream, and was like, great, let's start this up. And I just saw that Pokemon Pokopia icon
The
sitting
siren
there.
song.
And I was like, I should go back to, because I had just started the third area, like hadn't met a single Pokemon. And I was like, ooh, but that's a whole new area. And I was like, okay. So a lot of this weekend, I spent several hours this weekend just playing Pokopia, got through the third area, which I loved. I think it's my favorite of the areas so
What is
far.
like the theme? What is
The theme? It's a lot of caves and mountains, and there's a volcano that erupts during part of it. It's where you meet the little chef Pokemon who's like teaching you how to make different foods, and also where you meet the DJ Rotom who wants to throw a party. So like I was just like speaking my language. I really, really enjoyed it. And I moved on to the next area, which is like based on Sky Islands, and the aesthetic is kind of like a little bit crazy for me. I don't love that one yet, but I did meet a Sprigatito. So, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yes, I have not checked in on Tomodachi Life yet. Mark, turning over to you.
Okay, can I ask you one question about
Yes.
Pokemon Pokopia? And it's okay if I guess you haven't like reached this point, but I see online people have just created the most crazy
Right.
like
yes.
setups.
So
right, like
am I
roller
doing that?
coasters
Yes, right.
and like palaces and all this kind of stuff. How does that factor into the game? Does there become a point where it's like there is a furniture warehouse basically that you're buying stuff from? Like,
I mean, kind of. So you're always able to buy stuff from the PC at the Pokemon Center, and then like you can give Pokemon either by their habitats or in the houses that you build for them, or eventually you can make shops. But you can give them a cash register, and then they start to carry like items that you can buy. So everything is really decentralized in that regard, but so too is your like inventory system. Generally speaking, now that I understand like how the game works, I try to leave my area inventory in that area, and then when I move on to the next one, I like start to build up a new inventory and storage boxes there. But so yeah, I mean the some of the furniture stuff. Oh, I guess the other component is that there are 3D printers in the Pokemon Center, and anything that you can like pick up in the game, which is to say anything, you can have reproduced at the 3D printer. So like there's sort of no limit on what you can do if you just start building stuff. The third area is where mine carts and like minecart tracks are introduced. So like those roller coasters that you see people building, I can do that now, and I have a very nice like minecart system to like get deep into the caves where like some of my molten fire Pokemon are hanging out, and then back out to like the main like drag where like the restaurants are and stuff like that. But it is there are also so many like cool hidden areas in this third section of the game that like you're just exploring a cave, and it like opens up into something that seems like a whole new secret part of this I don't know. Like it was really like surprising and magical, and like it just felt like discovery the game, you know. So I'm having a blast with it, and at some point I will move on from it, but it did not happen this week.
Yeah, yeah. I have been playing Tomodachi Life, but I'm gonna discuss things in the order that I played them, which
Yes.
means starting with Final Fantasy VII Remake, because I have been hell bent on getting to the end of that game before
Yes.
really like closing the book and moving on. And I did finish Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Wow.
I didn't play Intergrade. I saw the option opened up, and I was kind of tempted because I really loved the end of Remake,
Yes.
but I really just felt like I've got to move on. I want to move on to other things. So I deleted Final Fantasy VII Remake from my Switch
Wow.
to because it was taking up
It
like
takes up a lot of space,
90
I'm sure. Yeah,
gigabytes or
yeah.
something. But maybe I'll go back before Rebirth releases in June to play
Integrate is fun.
I-
Integrate is fun.
But anyways, I really, really, really enjoyed the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
I think that game does such like a good job of the highs are so high.
The highs are so incredibly high, and it's when last you and I spoke, I think you were in like the midst of like kind of a lull, right? At like the entrance to Shinra Tower.
Yeah, I think yes. The last time we spoke about it, maybe not on mic.
We
I
weren't
was
on mic,
just doing the
yes.
part
Yes.
with Tifa where you're like trying to jump from chandelier to chandelier to
Right.
at the
She's
very
doing a little,
beginning
like,
of the
arm
Shinra
over
Tower
arm,
thing.
yes.
Yeah.
Which is like a total
Not fun.
time waster.
Yeah. But I love it when you're in there and you're like, I loved meeting Red 13. That was so fun.
Yep.
Even though not like a not a controllable party member, but fun
Not
to
in
have,
this game,
not in
yes.
this game, but like fun to have him running around with you. I thought the moments where you were switching between parties,
Mhm.
like making your way up and unlocking doors, like was a lot of fun. The final boss encounters, that entire run,
Back on the motorcycle.
back on the motorcycle.
I love that the motorcycle is set up in this game.
Yes.
Because, like, when it happens at the end of the Midgar section of the original Final Fantasy VII, it's just like, oh, cool little, like, mini game. But the fact that you've done it before in Remake rocks. It means the whole thing feels like an extension of the game you've been playing.
And those last few, like, boss encounters.
Love them.
Such a fun way to do that.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know. I had a real. It ends on a real high. That is a pretty incredible ending to that game. I think I played it for me like the optimal way to play it, which is I think that the in between stuff is pretty boring, and that's true of a lot of RPGs. Like in the original Final Fantasy VII, running around is not that fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that is true of this game. I think like the moments that are not set pieces, kind of like the in-between parts where you're just in a town and you're walking around, or maybe they want you to like solve stuff for some people. I thought all that stuff was bad. But the highs, or maybe not bad, but just boring. Like I could not get through that stuff fast enough.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder how you'll take to Rebirth.
Yeah, I am curious about that as well.
It's there's a lot more of that kind of thing in Rebirth, but I think it's so much better than it was in Remake. And I just wonder if you'll share that opinion or not.
I was also while I was playing Remake, because it is so, and this is another thing I'm interested about Rebirth, because most of Final Fantasy VII Remake is incredibly guided, right? It's like you are moving forward in a very specific way. Occasionally you'll visit towns that give you like some optional side quests to do, but for the most part it's just like run down this corridor, and if you try to deviate from that path, the game will literally turn you around.
Right.
Like literally stop you. And it made me think about Final Fantasy 13 and how that game is also like famously very similar to that. And how at the time it felt like such a regression. And now you have like Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is, like widely lauded. And it's like, I just wonder where.
Right.
Maybe because we were coming out of an era of like Final Fantasy 12 that did give you so much more like freedom that 13 felt so.
What's interesting is that like the beginning of 7 until you get out of Midgar is like pretty corridory, right? Like
Totally,
there
totally.
aren't really a lot of like open explorable areas just in those first couple hours of the game. So I think people's expectations going into Remake were calibrated that way, right? That like if you are very familiar with the original Final Fantasy VII, basically all of the locations will, trigger a bell in your brain being like, this is exactly like it was. And it's not, of course, exactly like the layouts are different, like, but whatever. You know where you're going, and it's all pretty straight line. And obviously you can, go into little digressions here and there, but like there is no wide open world in that stretch of the Final Fantasy VII game.
But I'm guessing Rebirth has more freedom.
Tons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is interesting just because it will be so different from um the experience of playing 7. But
And again, I just
7
want to
remake.
assert my opinion of Rebirth, that the freedom is textual and feeds the themes of the narrative.
Okay, the end of 7 remake.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. Like finding out what the whispers are and having like Zack be alive
Yep.
seemingly and possibly probably in a different dimension.
But what's
like
going
or in
on?
a different timeline or whatever. Like yes, very cool, very exciting. Very exciting to have like the characters be like we are choosing we understand the stakes, or at least some of them.
Or at least we have like a shape of what the stakes
Yes,
are. Because like the whispers are essentially like revealed to be like a spiritual force that is trying to keep this narrative on the right track.
Yeah, so anytime something happens, like there's, I guess, spoilers, but anyways, there's a part where like Sephiroth stabs Barrett,
Yeah.
and then a whisper like fixes it basically.
Yeah.
And Barrett's fine. And it's like, yes, because Barrett isn't supposed to die there, so the whispers are there to keep everything in line. And it's just
it's such an interesting way to do like what is an alternate timeline story that is also like a sequel to basically a sequel to Final Fantasy VII, that is taking the sort of like metatextual like expectation that like these games have to be new and exciting, but they can't be too new and too different. And for that game to end with a swordsman, a gunner, and a fighter in the whisper forms, basically representing Cloud, Barrett, and Tifa, like fighting you and you demolishing like the old versions of the characters to embrace a new destiny, is rad as hell.
Yeah, it was really, and I know we had talked about it when you played it like years ago. And so I kind of like knew what to expect or where it was going, but the actually experiencing it was really cool. And so I'm excited. I am pretty much like spoiler free on Rebirth. I haven't, like, when that game came out, I wasn't really paying attention to it because I hadn't even played Remake yet. So I am excited to see where it goes, like where they take this going into Rebirth. So really like Final Fantasy VII Remake, but also felt like I had my experience with it, and so I was ready to be done and move on to other stuff.
You really should be playing Integrate, but okay.
Star Fox. So I had picked up a copy a couple of weeks ago. With the rumors out there of a new Star Fox game. Paul in the Discord had played Star Fox 64 and was talking about it. I ended up picking up a copy of Star Fox 64 3D, which I had never played before, and played a few like runs of that this weekend, and had a really good time. It was one of those, and I feel like I had this experience when we played the original Star Fox for SNES month back in 2020, where the first time I went through it, it's really just kind of like getting your bearings.
Right.
But a run doesn't take that long. And so it was easy to be like, okay, now that I feel more comfortable with this, I'm ready to just jump right back in and, like be better at it and continue to get better. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's slight. And I had kind of forgotten how slight it was.
It is a slight game. I also I don't remember if we talked about this, but I played a couple runs of Star Fox 64 on Nintendo Switch Online, just on the Nintendo 64 version, and I did like 2 or 3 runs and like choosing different paths. But like the branching paths aren't so robust as to make it feel like a totally different game every time. Um, and like yeah, I mean, I guess to your point that like it does just feel like a little on the slight side.
I guess I mean, it feels so silly to be like, I want more plot from a Star Fox game, but I do want more exploration of the world. Like, why? Like, I don't understand Andros. How is it? How is Andros like? Is it a robot at the end that's the big floating head, like a giant like space
And
station
then you like
skeletal thing?
go in its brain. Did you ever do one of the runs where you end by like you
No,
blow
I
up the
didn't do.
face? Okay.
I didn't do that this time.
Where you can fight the face, but then you go inside it, and then it's like a brain and two eyeballs that you're fighting. So like, yeah, what is Andros? What's the deal with James McLeod? Like, it's just a lot of like, what is this?
Yeah, but
It's when we talk about like, oh well, of course the Mario Galaxy movie's not going to have a lot of story. Mario never has story, but Star Fox, we've seen Star Fox. Now you know what games have a story is Star Fox, and I'm like, do they?
yeah, they don't. They have a text dump at the beginning. I will say this playthrough made me appreciate that Peppy hair is really cute. Like at the beginning of the game,
yes,
when they're all running through the
Running down
like
the hallway,
and Peppy's wearing like his like long lab coat, and he's like short.
yeah.
Peppy's cute. I think Peppy might be my favorite of
Wow.
of them now. Yeah, I really like Peppy.
Now that's if we broaden it out to the entire Star Fox cast.
Yeah, I think Peppy might be my
Above Grippy.
favorite. Yeah, well, no, I mean, of course, Grippy is forever number one.
Like that we just like the old men.
And also when Peppy talks, he's the least annoying. His voice is the least annoying to me.
Yeah, that's true because Falco's got that like like disaffected, like I don't care
He's
about
like little
anything.
stinkerish a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then Slippy is and he's got the iconic do a barrel roll line. I get the Fox voice actor is okay though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally. And I don't think it's a fault of the voice actors. I think it's just
Sure, direction and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The fun to play it on 3DS. The 3D is fun. I had to turn it off after a while just because I have an old 3DS without the eye tracking, and it just became a nightmare to play. I also stopped
I don't know
playing-
why you bought the branded old 3DS.
And then I also I stopped using the gyro controls after a while because that's like an option in the beginning. There's like
What?
so yeah, when you boot up the game for
Yeah.
the first time and you start, it takes you through like a little bit of training, which makes sense, and it introduces you to gyro controls, and so you can both use the thumb pad, like the circle pad, and do like gyro controls to control your ship. And there's also an option when you're starting a run of do you want to do like a 3DS enhanced version that I don't entirely understand what the difference is, but there's a 3DS enhanced version or like a 3DS, I can't remember what they called it, but basically like with the idea that this run of the game, I don't know if they balance the enemies different or whatever, is for people that are playing with like the gyro controls on.
Yes.
And then there's a like Nintendo 64 version that is balanced or whatever to how the Nintendo 64 game plays.
That makes sense to me. That they would have like some gameplay enhancements or just rebalancings because that was actually one of the things that I found playing Star Fox 64 it just last week was that when you lose a life you may as well stop your run altogether because all of your upgrades are gone and whatever damage has been done to your allies stays. So like I was playing and like the level before Venom I was on like the top path and it's just where Star Wolf attacks you, and I had two like one of my allies was down and so it was the three of us against Star Wolf, and I was like doing all right, and then I lose that, and there's basically no way to get your power-ups back in just a dogfight with Star Wolf. So like I couldn't get past it with the single green laser. I need that double blue laser, and I need all my guys. And the game is just never going to give me that. So I just spend, the like all the extra lives I earned to that point on basically never being able to progress past it.
So I was happy to experience it again. I'm glad I played the 3DS version. I think that was a fun way to play it. But yeah, it was, I don't know. I guess like not as good as I remembered it being, but also it's a like 30-year-old game. So
Right. And like I think it was even known to be slight at the time. Just it's a very interesting game, and it's I think a very interesting like product of its time. But yeah, I think looks a little silly all these years later.
and then so I did also start Tomodachi Life Living the Dream. And like your experience with Pokopia is similar to how I'm feeling about Tomodachi Life, where I intended to start it, play it a little bit, and not that I have spent that long in it. I just got to the point where I have like 6 Miis on my island, and like I've opened up the ability to design my own food to feed them and like that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's maybe 2 hours in. Maybe that may even be overstating it a little bit. But I was expecting to play it a little bit, kind of get bored, and then move on. But I'm kind of amazed at how the game has hooked me. It does a really good job of like stepping you through the different to like tutorializing
Yeah.
over, but still giving you enough of like a feeling where okay, over the past 2 hours I was still able to like affect change on my island and kind of set things up the way I want to,
Right.
even though some of it is really like prescriptive. It's really silly. I like being able to have them talk about like mail fraud, or and I have an alien. I have Legolas from Lord of the
Sure.
Rings.
Right.
I have a grandma who is 150 years old, which is as old as you can make somebody. I have a little kid, and I have 2 other people.
Not hearing Patrick on there.
Oh, I haven't put anybody that I
Okay.
know. I haven't put any like. Although the game really encourages you to and gives you opportunities when you're creating a Mii to say like, does this Mii that you're creating have a relationship with somebody else?
Oh, that's
and you can say
interesting,
like,
yeah.
this is their this is a grandparent to them, or like friend or whatever. So the game encouraged you to make those connections to real life people. I just haven't gone down that path at all.
Fictional people can have relationships too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like the old woman and the little kid on my island are like the grand
Yeah, how do we express that?
mother and grandchild.
Right, yes.
Yes. But one thing that I didn't appreciate until playing it really is that the game really I was kind of expecting to get in there and be like, I'm going to make this I'm going to make them wear silly clothes. Like I put like the little girl in a business suit, and I'm going to, just like mess with them as much as possible. And the game does a really good job of directing you toward, like encouraging you and incentivizing you making the Miis happy, doing the things that will like, because the way you level up Miis, and in order to really give them different attributes and like give them specific personalities, you have to level them up so you can give them gifts of personality quirks and like that sort of thing. The way you do that is by making them happy. So you want to decorate their house in a way that they want.
Yeah.
You want to put them in clothes that they like. You want to feed them food that they enjoy, because that is how you are going to like really open up the world of the game and see all the different possibilities. And it totally makes sense, but I didn't really appreciate how much of a difference that would make to your enjoyment. Is like, no. The game incentivizes you wanting the Miis to be happy, doing things that will make the Miis happy.
That's interesting.
And exploring the world in that way.
Yeah, and I wonder if that makes it ultimately funnier.
Right.
That
totally.
like the game is like, no, these parts should be grounded, or at least like have an internal consistency, so that by the time they're, professing their love for each other, that they don't just feel like bizarre cartoons, right? Like there's almost like an improv playing at the top of your intelligence like philosophy that you can apply to it, where it's like, no, let's establish a reality and then get weird. um that's very interesting.
The game does get weird, or not weird, but like funny. It has a
Yeah.
personality from the very beginning. Like, I'm guessing that this is scripted, that like, when you create this third character, then they are going to fall in love with, like, they're going to have a crush on whoever they interact with first. I don't know exactly how it works,
Yeah, sure.
but yeah, like I created my alien character. He's on the island, and then I dragged somebody over to interact with him. And there's this short little cutscene of the alien like immediately being smitten
Hmm.
by the guy that he's interacting with, and it's all just like really funny and clever. The options that you get, so you get when a person levels up or when your island levels up, you can uh there's a fountain in the center of your island, and when you get enough happiness, basically, it fills up like a bottle, and then you dump that bottle into the fountain, and when that fills up, it gives you a wish, and with the wishes you can unlock like items for your island, like lampposts, streetlights, that sort of thing. You can get gifts, as in like a soccer ball or a camera that you could give to one of your Mii's, things like that, and like quirks. So I can't remember if that's what they call them. Basically, it's like, oh, the ways for characters to walk, ways for characters, things that you want characters to say. So I have one where it's like, the old woman will shout something at the sea, and it and being able to really kind of like personalize the Mii's in that way is a lot of fun. The game is very silly. I have been drawn back to it repeatedly, where
Yeah,
I'm like,
interesting.
oh, I've just got to keep like, and again, I'm not even that far. The amount of stuff, just like with Pokopia, that you've seen online that people have created and have been able to do is really incredible and daunting to me. It's the same sort of thing that I feel with Animal Crossing, where it's like, I almost feel discouraged by like my lack of
Yeah,
like desire to make something really incredible out of my island.
but it just means that you're not willing to commit the same amount of time to it, right? Like, I know there's obviously like talent being applied to a lot of these things, but also like, you talk about any of the big like mansions or roller coasters that you see in Pokopia, and it's like, yeah, that took that person all day, it's just like, well, I'm prioritize my time differently, and like it shouldn't make you feel bad that you're not achieving those same things.
I know it does kind of discourage me a little bit, but another thing I'll say about Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream, is that I feel like it moves really fast,
Hmm.
whereas like Animal Crossing, the other really game like this that I can think to compare it to, is much more laid back. I feel like all of that takes more time. Whereas like Tomodachi Life, I feel like was constantly like, and you can do this, and you can do this, and you can do this, but in a way that I appreciated, where it's like, okay, I think I've reached the point where I can just create as many Mii's as I want. Um, Before it's like, no, you have to reach this. You have to wait till like four of the people on the island are friends, and then we'll allow you to put another Mii. I feel like I feel like Tomodachi Life has kind of like did a speed run through the tutorial stuff,
Yeah.
and I appreciated the speed at which it moved.
Do you have a sense of this? Do the Mii's like interact with each other, or like do the relationships change while you're not playing?
I don't know that I've been doing it long enough to know. They definitely interact. So they'll just be like, two of them will like pair up and be walking together, and then you can look in on them and see what they're talking about.
Mm.
But I don't know if that affects their relationship or not, because maybe it does, but it seems like
If you're
for
not there to
a
witness it,
relationship
yeah.
to move to the next level, or even just being like, hey, they're acquaintances, they think they have stuff in common, and then for them to become friends, it's seemingly they will ask you. They'll like have a little indicator over their
Gotcha.
head, and
Yeah.
you talk to them, and they're like, I really like Legolas. Should we be friends? And you have the option of saying yes, totally,
Or
or
you're not Gimli.
right, or it's like, at least sometimes it seems to be three options. It's like, yeah, totally, or one that's more neutral, and then one that's
Yeah,
like, no.
interesting.
Or the alien was like, can I? Maybe the alien didn't ask if they could have a crush. I think the crush happened, but then the alien asked me like, should I pursue this person? You have the option of saying
Interesting,
like
yeah.
yes or no. So it seemingly you have a lot of control over whether somebody like continues to pursue another character, even whether it's just like out of friendship, continue. But as we saw in like that direct, it doesn't mean that it's going to work out.
Right.
But
You're just nudging these
yeah,
characters.
yeah, exactly.
Is the in-game clock, is it real time
It
or
is.
yeah.
So like before we started recording, I played just a little bit and it was like sunset on my island.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I haven't tried at night. Like I don't know what happens,
Yeah.
if I go on at like 11 or something.
Everyone's asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting because obviously Pokopia is this way too, with like the real time clock. It's so fascinating to me that Nintendo released both of these games within just like a month and a half of each other.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit more about it when we get into the news. But it just like that's a just perplexing decision to me.
And can somebody explain to me? I still don't understand what restrictions Nintendo has on sharing, because is it certain cutscenes? Is it certain points in the game? Because I've been able to take video of it and
Hmm.
like screenshots and all that
And,
stuff.
and are you
so
able to like share that stuff? Have you tried
I guess
like?
I don't. I'm not really on any social media to try.
But you could share to the Nintendo Switch app on your phone.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I haven't checked. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if that's it. That like, because I've seen a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of people have found a way to just like capture stuff, but like, I've seen a lot of people just like filming their Switch
TVs,
screen.
yeah.
Yeah, or TV.
I see what you're saying. Maybe there's no restriction on saving clips and screenshots, but how do you get those clips and screenshots off
Exactly,
of the Switch too?
right.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And like a lot of what I'm seeing people share is filthy stuff because you can make their interests anything.
Yeah.
And that it's crazy to me how they have this like technology that is like you can make the Mii's say basically anything with these not pre-recorded voices. Is that considered AI? How is that happening?
No, I feel like it's pretty like old technology, because that's how old automated telephone lines would work, right? They just know each syllable and
Right,
then they're
yeah.
putting
That's a good
whatever.
point.
That's why you have to. When I was trying to make my island Pizza Island, which I gave up on, it's Meatball Island now. But when I was trying to get it to say pizza, I'm like
Right.
trying as phonetically as possible to get it to say pizza, because it when it was trying to just pronounce the word pizza, it didn't sound like pizza at all.
Which like that's a pretty easy word. You should understand pizza.
But it's not looking at the word. It's looking at, I think, just like individual letters or sounds of individual letters and
Right.
trying to
But like
mesh them together.
got to be able to recognize words. And one of the best words to recognize is pizza.
It's true.
All right, Mark, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
First, we'll check in on Nintendo Music. Last Thursday, Nintendo added 10 tracks from Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream to celebrate the game's release. Also, there was a note that there would be no new tracks this week, and that is true.
Voila, no new tracks.
Kind of a thin week for new releases. The only thing that I wanted to call out is that today on Switch and Switch 2, Vampire Crawlers, the turbo wildcard from Vampire Survivors, like a roguelike deck building spin-off of Vampire Survivors, is released.
So, Vampire Crawlers : the turbo wildcard.
From Vampire Survivors, I think is the full name.
Oh boy.
I think Vampire Crawlers to its friends.
Right, but I'm just trying to is turbo wildcard, is that
No clue.
like an established franchise?
Absolutely
of
no
some kind?
idea. Yeah, absolutely no idea.
So we does spring technically start like tomorrow?
No, I think it started in March.
What a great point. What a great point. Mark, what a great point. I was just thinking that Mina the Hollower has
Oh, great point.
it's supposed to come out spring.
Yes.
No, that was like the new release date.
Yeah, that's right. Still have not heard
No.
anything.
And I expect we won't until like it's basically out.
Right, I know that. What was it? At the Xbox showcase, or was it
Yeah, that's
PlayStation
right.
that it showed up a little bit? But yeah,
And I think that's
So
when they were like
interesting.
spring this year. So now that we're a month into spring, I'm just saying I'm on the lookout for it. Not so
Yes,
much that I
totally.
understand when seasons happen.
No,
but
and that's not your job.
Thank you for saying that. Also, like video game publishers really care what is technically spring and is not.
Yeah.
These games come out when they want to come out. But yeah, you're right. Really, nothing else. I really, I loved Vampire Survivors. I can't do a deck building spin-off of Vampire Survivors.
The reviews are good. The reviews are good.
Okay.
But it seems like do you know what? No, it's not even worth trying to dissect this because the information is out there. I just don't know it. So there's no reason in
Understood,
trying
right.
to speculate
It's like
on
when,
what Turbo Wild Card from
Yes.
Vampire Survivors means.
It's like when there's going to be a Nintendo Direct in the morning, and we're like, so obviously we're not going to speculate about it here. But what do you think's going to happen?
Right.
We're not going to do that. All right, Mark. Let's close out the new releases. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I'll talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Today, of course, we are talking about the dinner bread that you will sometimes get at a restaurant.
I love breads. I love a bread service.
You love a bread service.
I love.
What's your favorite form factor for a bread service? Rolls, bread sticks, slices of bread.
Yeah, I don't. I know a few weeks ago I said that I love crazy bread, and that's true. But generally speaking, I don't love breadsticks. I don't really.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Sorry, I just got to know when you say breadsticks,
Yeah.
what are you picturing in your head? Are you picturing like
I'm picturing
the
like
Pizza
the
Hut
Olive
style?
Garden,
Okay, yes.
sticks of bread that are in a basket with a cloth wrapped around them.
Yeah, they're like tiny little baguettes.
yeah,
almost.
yeah.
'Cause
Like
there's-
billy clubs.
Yes, but they're still very bready because there's also like there's that, but it's a cracker.
Oh, I definitely don't want that. I wouldn't. No.
I mean,
No.
I will eat those.
No, not
What?
me.
Well, you could also swing them around like swords.
I would do that. I'm not going to eat it though.
But then when it breaks, then you gotta like, well, okay.
I
Then
don't
you
have to do anything.
I mean, you're right, of course.
But yeah. So I
Just
think
wish you would do breadstick fighting with me.
I think my favorite is like one of those like little loaves of bread.
Mm-hmm.
Like it
Sliced or what are we saying?
preferably.
Yeah.
But I don't mind when they stick a giant like steak knife in it. You know, and it
yeah,
comes on
that's true. Yeah,
it comes on a carving board.
yeah.
Like a big thing of butter. Like I like that
And
too.
you just got to do it yourself.
Like that's kind of fun. But
What are you expecting, or what are you hopeful for is going to be like flavoring this bread? Is there like a dip of some kind, or like just like olive oil?
I
and like
do like at
balsamic,
an
or-
Italian restaurant
Yeah.
where it'll just be olive oil with a little like vinegar if
Yeah.
you want it.
Mhm.
Like I think that's really good.
Who is it? It's someone like I don't think it's Outback, or it might be like Texas Roadhouse or something that has the sort of like sweet honey cinnamon
Oh,
butter.
I know what you're talking about. Maybe
Yeah.
it is Texas Roadhouse, and I love that.
I like that too. It is also, I mean, first of all, I don't eat meat. There's almost nothing for me at Texas Roadhouse.
I don't know what you would do.
Here's the thing. I went
Peanuts?
to a Texas Roadhouse with my friend Ethan, who is a vegan. We were in Appleton, Wisconsin, caught in literally a tornado was happening outside. We sought shelter inside the nearest building. It was Texas Roadhouse. We had to stay there for like 3 hours.
Was it delicious?
We
Did they
got-
celebrate somebody's birthday? Did they sit on the saddle and everybody sang to them?
I don't think so. There were very few people in the restaurant because
There was a tornado.
There was a tornado. But we did get our server went to get a manager when we were like, "What can we eat?"
Oh,
And the manager came out and she was like, "I'm vegan too. I do like I make a little like dipping sauce for French fries out of what we have that is it's like a horseradish based thing."
That's amazing.
Mhm.
And also, doesn't that tell you everything you need to know about capitalism? That like a vegan is working at like a Texas Roadhouse
Roadhouse.
because a job is a job, and you have to,
Hey, yeah.
you have to survive somehow.
But it's also someone who is like food minded, thinking about food.
Right.
working at a restaurant. So
Yeah.
like, it's not the dumbest thing, but like,
I'm not saying it's dumb.
you're calling her dumb. And I don't
No,
appreciate
I'm
it.
not. I'm just saying, like, I'm sure she would rather work somewhere else, but
Yes.
what are you gonna do?
So I also I like a fresh baked loaf that is sliced into slices already. I think
That
that's
is nice. Yeah.
that's fun. I do this sort of like verges into appetizer territory, but like if you get like some sort of dip that like comes with chips or whatever, and then you're like, oh, but I could also like the bread
Oh,
can
that
go
is
in there.
yeah.
Like that's where
That's the dream.
you're seeing the Matrix at that
Yes.
point.
I wish more restaurants. I really appreciate the restaurants that are holding the line and do free bread service.
Yes.
Because fewer and fewer, and I will pay for bread service,
Sure, if it's an extra charge, of
but
some
I
kind.
really prefer. This is.
I would prefer not to
this is
have
really
to think about it.
surprising,
Right?
yeah.
Yes,
But I would
and
prefer
not pay for it.
Yeah.
I have thought for a long time that there should be a like brunch place that basically does free bread service, but with waffles,
Interesting.
where they just come around whatever else you ordered. Like,
Yeah.
here's a little waffle.
Kind of like how Red Robin does free
With French
like
fries,
unlimited
yes.
French fries, unlimited
But
waffles.
you have to order them, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Oh, you're saying just waffles for
Waffles
free.
just for free all the time. That was, of course, applause. So we were accompanied today by pianist Kyle Shaw. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
So we were just talking about Tomodachi Life, living the dream, but maybe the game was feature complete a year ago. Maybe the game has been in the can for a year and just waiting for whenever Nintendo felt like they needed to release it.
And why, of any moment, this one?
So why do we think this? Well, because I do want to talk
Yes,
about that.
yes,
but why do we
yes.
think this? So online personality, non-derogatory. John Cartwright. I didn't know how do you explain what
Yeah.
like video creator?
I mean, he's been in that space for such a long time.
Yeah.
So it's just John Cartwright.
Yeah. So posted on Blue Sky an image from the USK's website. The USK is the German Games Rating Board that shows the classification date for Tomodachi Life as May 20th, 2025. Presumably meaning that is when the ratings board like
Rated it. So that was also right about when it was announced, too, right?
A little bit after, right? Because
Just
this
a little
was
bit after, yeah.
it was revealed at the direct that was at the end of March. That final like
Right.
Switch 1 direct before they revealed the Switch 2 just a couple of weeks later.
So yeah, and this sort of thing is not at all unheard of for Nintendo. Fire Emblem Engage was reportedly like done and ready to go more than a year before.
2 years. So
2
both
years,
it and Metroid Prime Remastered had like classification dates that were 2 years before the games ended up releasing.
Right. And like we can always kind of chalk this up to like Nintendo likes to control their like output of games so that there's like always ish something new to play, and we don't go through like long periods of game drought, and so that they're not releasing too many games back to back, because there are a fair number of like, you and I are good examples of like Nintendo people who are, when a new Nintendo game is released, that we're like, our initial instinct is to buy it. And if too many of them come out, say like November, December last year, then we start having to make choices to be
Right.
like, well, I'll skip out on the Hyrule Warriors, but I will get Kirby Air Riders, for example.
And I do think that, there are Nintendo games that come in hot.
Totally.
Like just a few years ago, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Splatoon 3 switched release spots to give Splatoon, I mean, they didn't say this, but presumably to give Splatoon 3 a little bit more time.
Right. But it meant that Xenoblade 3 was ready to go.
Right.
And had been for a little while.
And
yeah.
really, I think a lot of it, like, I think that Nintendo can do this speaks to, one, their like development philosophy, but also their business philosophy. Because I think for a lot of companies, the economic reality is like Mina the Hollower is a great example, right? It's like, this game is gold, and now we have to release it immediately because we need the money. We just spent 5 or 6
Right.
years creating this game, and we can't.
At whatever burn rate it was, and
Yeah.
now like you just need to make money off the product now.
But Nintendo has so much cash,
Right.
that they can presumably do this where it's like, well, we have this, and now when is going to be the optimal time? Presumably, this is all projection. I have no idea, why they do the things they do, but presumably it's like, when is the right time for us to release this product? When do we need it? When does it make sense on our release schedule?
Right. And like you can look at, where we are in Nintendo's release schedule for 2026 and say like, yeah, we needed a game in this slot for where Tomodachi Life Living the Dream came out. But it is nuts that the game released basically previously on Switch 2. And mind you, they are technically different platforms, Switch and Switch 2. But is another like sort of simulation real-time clock sharing funny clips of things that are happening in your world game in Pokemon Pokopia.
Right. Yeah. And also, there was such a long stretch last year where there were no Switch 1 releases.
Yes, huge. So between the release of Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, which was in nope, I'm looking at the wrong page.
March, right?
March, yes, March 20th, 2025, and Super Mario Galaxy 1 and Super Mario Galaxy 2, which happened in October. It was a 7-month break. The obviously longest break in Nintendo's history since they started publishing Switch games, between those games. So yeah, it seems like they could have used it sometime in the middle of the year, but also middle of the year, they're launching Switch 2.
Right. So strategically, it makes sense.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just kind of, I think it's just kind of interesting to have this data and to think like, yeah, a game that there's a rumor about happening, it could
Right.
be happening but being banked
2 years
4
later.
years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also really interesting that because I don't think that Rhythm Heaven Groove is a game that's been done and finished for a long time. I've seen a couple different like comparison videos between just the one mini game that we've seen in both instances that the game has been shown off of like the woman like cutting or like making a salad.
Oh, yeah.
That like the art style is different from what it was at this point a year ago. Not dramatically, but like the models are all different, the colors are different,
Like the background is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and background that could be just like different levels or something, but like yeah, there's enough different there where it seems like they're probably about wrapping up with the game now, but it doesn't seem to me like it was done or like 2 months away from being done when they showed it off last year. So yeah, it is just interesting that there are those like different extremes, and that then they can that Tomodachi Life and Rhythm Heaven can come out within 3 months of each other, 2.5 months of each other, but be on such like wildly different release tracks from the same company on the same platform. It's very interesting.
Speaking of ratings, a couple of new third-party game ratings have popped up online for unannounced titles. The Taiwan Ratings Board has a rating for a Switch 2 version of Starfield,
Okay.
which was recently launched on PS5, was launched on Xbox a couple of years ago, and has been long rumored for Switch 2 as well. And then
it feels like that is in line with like what Microsoft's approach to publishing has been.
Yeah.
Unclear if that will be what their policy is too much
Right.
going forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, because there were reports last week that under the leadership of new Microsoft Gaming CEO Asha Sharma, Xbox is reevaluating their strategy around platform exclusives, as in, should we be doing more platform exclusives again? Instead of putting...
Right.
These are examples I'm making up. Halo on PS5 or Horizons or Forza on PS5, which those two are announced to be happening.
And sort of like within the like Forza, that's a day and date, right? Like the PlayStation, or maybe it's just a couple months later or something like that.
Yeah, it could be. It could be day and date.
Like the last time we saw Fable at like the Xbox Developer Direct, that they were like coming to Xbox and PlayStation. That's Fable, and like I can sort of like rationalize the, especially anything from Activision Blizzard, or like
Right.
and Bethesda, all that kind of stuff, where it's like, yeah, those games and those studios, like, cut their teeth on being multi-platform. So like the expectation is that they would continue to be. But an exclusive game like Fable is like, was at some point, they haven't put out a new one in like a decade or more, but was like foundational to the Xbox identity.
Halo. I mean,
I know,
that was,
yes.
yeah. No, totally. I agree. And I can it makes sense to me based on, what we know about I don't know, like when there's big leadership changes at companies, it's not because they want to do the
Right.
same thing. It's because they're looking for a new strategy. But it feels to me that like horse is already out of the barn. Like, sure,
Yes.
you could decide that going forward, Xbox Studios games are going to be exclusive to Xbox, but is it like too late? Are you basically in a lot of ways starting from scratch trying to rebuild,
Well, I
like
mean,
loyalty
possibly.
to your platform?
But like you got to start building at some point, right? I mean, that's also like the kind of philosophy behind buying all these studios in the first place, is that like at first this is going to result in like financial pain and like hardship to the artists basically, but it will eventually result in us publishing a bunch of games that people are going to be really excited about. If you can change that narrative to be a bunch of games that people are excited about that they can only play on our system and in our ecosystem, even better. There are also like, I had read and didn't really like investigate, report that Xbox was considering uh the viability of keeping Call of Duty on as like a Game Pass, like day one,
Oh, right. Like, should they not be doing
should they
that?
not be doing
Yeah.
that, right? And making it just so like, sure, you can still buy it anywhere, but you can't get it for free just by subscribing to Game Pass, because it is such a huge seller that it does feel ridiculous to give it away as part of a subscription platform. But like that's just been part of like the company line for so long, that like every Xbox first party game is going to be available on Game Pass day one. Like you say, though, you don't totally massacre leadership to keep everything the same. And it seems like they did totally massacre leadership. So, we'll see. It's kind of the Wild West
Yeah.
as far as what Xbox's future is.
But yeah, it makes sense because there was also an article about how they're looking at, like, is Game Pass too expensive now?
Sure.
So it makes sense that they're evaluating every part of the Xbox business and figuring out where to go. I guess next month we have Indiana Jones, and right on
Oh
Switch
yeah,
2.
yeah,
Like,
that's right.
that's releasing just next month. Yeah, weird times with Xbox, and I'm sure it'll take them a couple of years to kind of figure out where they want to go from here.
Right,
But oh yeah,
right.
we should be getting presumably Call of Duty on Switch 2 at some point.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely should. Well, and like, we are approaching what should be the like dawn of new hardware for
Right.
PlayStation,
Be
Xbox.
6 years.
It'll be, yeah, and it's like, but will we, like, we're living through this like AI processor apocalypse, and then tariffs on top, where it's just like it is not a good time to be spending money on making those things into a market that it can't bear the expense of buying them. Um, but also like Xbox has said that they want to like refocus on the importance of the hardware. So like, I don't know.
But the new hardware, the speculation and rumors is that it's basically just a PC.
A great point. Yeah. But it's, I mean, like, when they announce it and they reveal a price, then we'll talk about that for
No. I mean, that's
months
true.
and months.
So I think that is, you're saying it's about time for new hardware, or
Yeah.
I think some of the reports around the PlayStation 6 was they were looking at like 2027 originally or something. And I feel like, from an outsider perspective, I don't own a PlayStation 5. I've never owned an Xbox Series. This generation of hardware feels like it's still kind of just getting started. Like we haven't had an original Naughty Dog game on PlayStation 5, have we?
No.
There's that one that's announced. But
Yes. Hold
that
on.
like
Let's get there.
sci-fi cyberpunk
It's
one.
like the Heretic Prophet, Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet.
Yeah, like there's one announced, but we haven't had like and I'm a little bit worried that the Switch 2 is going to experience that same thing.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, maybe it will, but also like Nintendo has this thing, and we say it literally every year. We're like, hey, we don't know what Nintendo's doing the rest of the year. And then they have a direct, and we're like, oh, okay, stuff. They're doing stuff. And I expect that we will see that.
Oh, I agree with you. I think for sure they're going to have stuff.
Yeah.
But it just makes me wonder, like, with as big as game development has gotten, Nintendo, sure, you could say at this point that for a while they were always like a generation behind.
Yeah.
And so, they had the same struggles in the Wii U generation that developers had previously with the 360 and PS3 generation. Like that move to HD was really hard for Nintendo. But you could say that one way or another, they benefited from the fact that other people had done that before.
Sure.
But I feel like we've gotten to, again, my outsider perspective is that we've gone to the point where like the tooling is probably like really similar. Like, I don't know that Nintendo is now building things that are technically less sophisticated than anybody else.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe they're less state of the art in certain ways, like that I couldn't enumerate. But I just feel like, is Nintendo reaching the point that Naughty Dog is, that all these other developers are, was just like, games unavoidably take forever to make. And so we'll be lucky if we get a brand new Legend of Zelda game in the Switch 2 generation. I hope this isn't true, but I wonder if like that is just the reality of making games. And sure, when the Switch 3 is out and the Legend of Zelda, new Legend of Zelda comes out and it's playable on the Switch 2 and on the Switch 3, just like this new Naughty Dog game, I'm sure will be on PS5 and PS6. It's like, is that just? I'm worried that it's just like that's just unavoidably where we are. It takes a decade to make a really great game.
Yeah, yes. And I think that see, the interesting thing about Nintendo is that like, yes, they will take a very long time for like their internal studios to make a game, but they also have all of these different partnerships with studios who aren't technically Nintendo and who are obviously not Nintendo, like Bandai Namco, to make games for them. And then like on top of that, there's also like Game Freak and the Pokemon Company, and there are just all these other like engines of game creation that owe their existence basically to Nintendo platforms. Intelligent Systems, another one, where it's just like these things are going to keep coming up and keep being developed, if not internally by Nintendo. They just have so many irons in the fire, or at least they have the potential to have so much of that, that like, I don't know. I'm interested to see what the scope of Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is, and if it's like a game where you're like, oh yeah, obviously this couldn't have been a Switch 1 game, or if it's just going to be like a pretty game that could have been on Switch 1. Because like in a lot of ways, a game like a Fire Emblem game, well, tons of fun and like has a dedicated fan base, doesn't have to be a like huge AAA production, right? Like Nintendo has all these like avenues for Rhythm Heaven Groove,
Right.
we're just talking about, that can be the more like budget titles, even if we're charging full price for them. And I know Rhythm Heaven Groove is a $40 game, but or like WarioWare or whatever, these games that can just that they don't them being the technological bleeding edge doesn't even factor into whether it's good or not, and I just wonder how much of that philosophy they're like pushing forward as we move into this new generation of gaming software.
That's a good point. And for all my like doom and gloom, it's also not unheard of for there to be one Mario game a generation.
Totally. Yeah.
One. I feel like Zelda, usually they are able to get like two in there. in some form,
Sure. Yeah. I
like
mean,
on
a
newer.
lot of them are the like generation straddlers, but
Yeah, that's a great point because let's
like GameCube has Wind Waker, but then it also has Twilight Princess, which is the straddler with Wii.
yeah,
Wii has that straddler,
at the
and then
beginning and then one at the basically the very end in Skyward Sword.
right, and then the Wii U has none except the straddler,
Yeah,
which is
Breath of the
Breath of the
Wild.
Wild, and then Switch has had the straddler at the beginning and Tears of the Kingdom at
At the
the
very
end.
end.
And I mean, let's not sell Echoes of Wisdom short. That's also a Zelda game. Um, but so, and yeah, they're also, they just put out like, they do fewer Zelda spin-offs, so to keep the brand like in the zeitgeist, they just have to like release a new Zelda. Are we getting an Ocarina of Time remake? We don't know.
Yeah.
But I would be willing to wager dollars to donuts that there will be a Zelda game this year in
Yeah.
some form.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. Like academically, all of that makes sense. My feeling is that games just take so long now that
Yeah,
it's like,
this
oh,
is
that's
yes.
crazy that like Naughty Dog has released stuff on the PlayStation 5, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's what I'm pointing to. And there are exceptions to that. Where are there? I guess Insomniac maybe. They have released multiple or they
Just
will
Spider-Man 2, right?
on PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
And then they'll release that Wolverine game later this year, next year, something.
Yeah, the Wolverine game within the next probably within the next 12 months,
And I
right?
guess the Ghost of Tsushima
Yeah,
sequel,
that's Sucker Punch.
and that was
Ghost
a
of Yote.
PlayStation.
Yeah,
But the first one was a PlayStation 4 game,
correct.
and the second. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's just realistic now to expect
One
these big,
game every
yeah,
7 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I just don't like that.
Well, it just feels weird to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a like PlayStation 5 generation that potentially has no new Sucker Punch, or no new Naughty Dog game.
Yeah, I mean, but like part of that is they were elbows deep in a Last of Us
That's true.
online
That's
multiplayer
true.
game that got shut down.
Yeah,
So
that's
like,
true.
there's part of what's happening at PlayStation is they set these priorities early on this generation of like online games, like service games that they would pick their new forever game, and they've put out a couple of like games that made an impact. Like Helldivers 2 was one of them. But and I'm gonna forget the name of it again. But what was the name of the one that was out for like a week and then they pulled it back? Concord, you got it. Mark got it in one. Like that's such a disastrous thing that like, and then the Naughty Dog game not coming together is just another thing where it's like, okay, we set priorities artificially and now we're killing them, which means all of the time invested into those artificial priorities, or those artificially set priorities, is now wasted.
Yeah, that's
we
a
just
really good
lost
point.
this development time.
Also, you have Capcom, who is just like churning out hit after hit after hit.
I know.
So pretty remarkable. I don't know. But it just feels crazy to be talking about the end of the PlayStation generation or like new hardware when it feels to me, again as an outsider, like it never really got started.
Yeah. I mean, totally. That's totally true. But if you look to the third parties, that you can be like, okay, Square Enix put out 2 like AAA Final Fantasy games on the PlayStation 5 generation. I'm talking about Rebirth and 16, and like great. That's close to their quota for any. It's usually 3, right? That like of Final Fantasy games. Final Fantasies 4, 5, 6 on the Super Famicom, 7, 8, 9 on PlayStation. PlayStation 2 got X, X2, and 12 plus 11, but that's a different beast. But anyway, like that's sort of the ideal is like 3 games. And they got 2 and they're both huge. Like great.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned Capcom, like that Resident Evil 4 remake, and now Resident Evil plus 8. So anyway,
and like Monster Hunter.
Right. Yes.
And
I was just kind of going by the individual series, but yeah, you're right. Like the Monster Hunter is like another
and Pragmata just released. So
yep.
Yeah. I just want my Nintendo games. I want my Nintendo bangers.
It's
You know
true.
what I mean?
Well, and like the heart in my mind of that, like, hey, where are my Nintendo games? They've been putting out Nintendo games and like pretty good ones.
Yeah,
I
totally.
think that there are like Pokemon Pokopia, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Mario Kart World are all really great games. The problem is that we haven't had a Super Mario Odyssey or a Legend of
It's
Zelda
true.
Breath of the Wild,
It's
which
true.
is an unfair ask of anyone for any time.
Right.
But Nintendo did give both those games to us once in a single calendar year. So we just need them to put out another like greatest game of all time. That's it. That's all we're
That's
asking
all we're
for.
asking for. Okay, going back before we start talking about the Xbox stuff.
Yes.
So Starfield, Switch 2 version.
Sure.
Talk about a game that seems to be fine by all accounts, but even after all the updates, just never feels like it has any real heat behind it.
Yeah.
Like this is not one that I'm like excited if it does come to Switch 2 for me personally.
Yeah.
Like, and then so you have that one. Then the Indonesian ratings board, which has been in the news recently because they seemingly leak spoilers for upcoming games like 007 First Light, Castlevania Belmont's Curse, and Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. That last one is getting an official reveal later this week. But a new listing on that ratings board website was for Diablo 4 Lord of Hatred, which is the new expansion for Diablo 4 coming to other platforms. But on the ratings board website, Nintendo Switch was listed as a platform.
Yeah.
But lots going on here. Like, why is it Nintendo Switch, not Switch 2?
Is it just a case where someone is clicking radio
Yes,
buttons and yeah.
because that happens sometimes, right?
Totally.
Or seemingly where, especially, I mean, Diablo 3 was on Switch.
Yep.
But
We played it together a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. Anyways, this one more than the other ones I'm taking with like a grain of salt.
Mhm.
But yeah, good. Lots of feels like don't want to get my hopes up too high, but feels like a June Nintendo Direct could have a lot going on.
What does it mean rhetoric? I know what I know what it means rhetorically. Where does it come from literally to take something with a grain of salt?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I'm gonna investigate that off mic because it feels like that we could get real deep in that one. Would you be interested in picking up Diablo 4?
I didn't. The little bit that I played of Diablo 3, I had a lot of fun, but I don't know that I would have time.
Yeah.
I think it would maybe depend on when it dropped.
Yeah.
But just because those games scare me a little bit because you could play them endlessly.
Demons. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, yes, that too. I'd have to play with the lights on.
Of
and,
course,
you know,
right.
like my husband wouldn't be able to sleep because
Right.
I'd constantly be asking him to reassure me
Everything's okay.
everything's fine. So, lots of reasons. Capcom, speaking of Capcom, announced that Pragmata sold over 1 million copies in its first 2 days, and the Switch 2 version got a shout out in their press release along with the fact that they released a demo. So in the press release, they say, quote, in the absence of an established fan base or pre-existing brand recognition, Capcom implemented a range of marketing initiatives, beginning with the early release of a playable demo, to communicate the unique features of the game to a wider audience. In addition, in line with the company's multi-platform strategy, Capcom broadened the title's availability by adding support for Nintendo Switch 2 at an early stage. As a result, these initiatives generated significant momentum, enabling Pragmata to achieve worldwide sales of over 1 million units in just 2 days, despite being a completely new IP, marking a strong start for the title.
Now, they're not wrong that they went nuts with marketing initiatives. Pragmata was in basically every Nintendo Direct, PlayStation State of Play, Xbox presentation for like a year, to the point where it would show up in one of those things and I'd be like, great, I'm gonna grab a snack, like this is my cue to take, even though like I'm interested. You and I, neither of us picked up Pragmata. Doesn't sound like.
No, I haven't yet. I plan to some
So do I.
point when I have like space
Time
for it.
Yeah. It's a game that I feel like every game liker is aware of, and feels like it's fun and interesting and cool looking. And also like everyone's on the Capcom train now.
It feels like the early days of the 360 and PS3
It
era,
does,
where it's just
yes.
like Capcom was just hit after hit after hit.
Ooh, give me a Lost Planet, give me a Dead Rising,
Right? Yeah.
even a Chop Till You Drop. I'll take it. But yeah, it's we talked a little bit about how the Resident Evil Requiem like Switch 2 install base is like lower probably than what you would expect, considering like what the Herculean effort of getting it to run on Switch 2. I'm putting words in their mouth.
Right. Seemingly not that
Seemingly
difficult.
not that bad.
Yeah.
But we don't have the actual information here, but I had read a headline that like the percentage is quite a bit higher where Pragmata is concerned.
Oh, interesting.
That feels a little bit less like a, and we talk about this a fair amount, that like you just get used to the idea that like a game belongs on a certain platform. I am like, yes, a Resident Evil game, I'm going to play on PlayStation. That's where I play Resident Evil. That's where I've always played Resident Evil, except, 4 and Code Veronica and whatever. And this just, that there is no baseline for where do you play Pragmata, maybe just like subconsciously grants people permission to play it anywhere.
Right. The benefit of being a new IP.
Mm-hmm. Plus, people are going to buy those amiibo. We know.
yeah. Everybody wants that awful hair.
Right. And they're like, should I buy? Like, and this was actually one of the things that stopped me from buying the amiibo with awful hair, is that like, am I going to buy that and then the PlayStation version? That's crazy.
Right.
But if I'm going to buy Pragmata, I'm going to buy the PlayStation 5 version.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Finally, I just want to shout out the Ask the Developer interview series on Nintendo's website for Tomodachi Life Living the Dream. They published it, I think, last week ahead of the game being released. It's 3 parts and has... I always love these Ask the Developers, but this has really interesting insights into the making of the game, including that initial development started in 2017.
Wow.
The game was in development for 9 years in some form or another. Yoshio Sakamoto, the same Sakamoto responsible for the Metroid series and Famicom Detective Club games, is the series producer of Tomodachi Life, which I think I knew at one point, but totally forgot.
That just like further solidifies that the Switch 1 is the generation of Yoshio Sakamoto, right? Like that he got to remake his Famicom Detective Club games, that he got to make a brand new one with like a challenging, cool story, that they got to make Metroid Dread.
Metroid Dread.
Yep. And now that we add Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, it's just like his scorecard is impeccable.
There's a cute kind of like story about in the interview about the genesis of this new game and how Sakamoto was like talking to, I think, the person who's the director of it. And, they have continually played the Nintendo 3DS version.
Yeah.
And Sakamoto's like, there's so much more of like life that I want my Mies to experience, but I've exhausted everything they can do in the 3DS version. And so like part of the genesis of this is like, we just want our Mies to experience more of what life has to offer.
What an interesting game creator he is, right?
Like, right. And I think like demonized for a period around like Other M and stuff.
Sure.
Like, and I, made jokes about Other M and all that, but I think so I think there was a point where he was a little like George Lucas during the prequel era.
Sure.
Where
or John Hammond during the Jurassic Park era. Not thinking about whether he should just because he could. But there is a little bit of what he is as a game developer at his like core is so interesting, and giving him all the tools in the world actually doesn't make his output more interesting. Like within the confines of a 2D Metroid, wonderful. Within the confines of a dialogue-based murder mystery, wonderful. It's just when you like blow those things out and you're like, okay, and now it's a 3D, 2D action adventure narrative,
well,
whatever.
Also, like, an artist, everybody has a hook in them.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, sometimes the greatest artists aren't going to always create like the most approachable work. But yes, I personally have such a more like respect and I feel like understanding of Because yeah, the man can do he does it all. He does Metroid, he does Tomodachi Life, he does Famicom Detective Club.
He's sort of the patron saint of this podcast. Is he not?
Yeah.
Is he our number one?
Oh boy, of our pet projects.
Yes,
Yes,
of our
for
pet
sure.
project.
Yeah.
Right, because I guess it is hard to argue with like you know, Eiji Aonuma or Miyamoto.
Right. Right.
But of
Yeah.
our pet
I mean, if we
projects.
find out someday that Sakamoto was somehow involved with
Rusty's Real
Real Deal Baseball,
Yeah, then it's game over.
like yeah.
Yeah.
And then finally, they did a lot of work to get the look and sound of farts right. in the
Perfect.
game. So
It's
worth checking out.
I usually cut them out of the podcast recording, but we do the same. All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. That's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. If you're not in our Discord already, you should be. Email us. I'll send you an invitation. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.